FMA not once all day, right, 42?
Quantum mechanics is probably the most mind-blowing theory of all of modern physics. In many explanations, cats are simultaneously alive and dead, and the outcome of experiments depends on a person looking at the experiment. Those last two things are kind of sketchy explanations that quantum practitioners have long since abandoned. However,
like I
there
said,
are real
Fermilab right here,
that are just
generals
bizarre
in the game given the presentation. Let me begin. On this board, based on the presentation, you'll often find I got Kyle dealing with time crystals, up, 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 down, down, up, and down, down, giving spin momentum direction of the flavor of a spectrum inside of there. Now, the flavor is the spectrum in itself, up, 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 down, and it might be orientated in that way for those standard models on this Jacobian target. I need that outcome to be Bernoulli's inside of their very specific set. If these are the general limits, chemistry is involved.
Well, basically, you shine light on two slits, and the light passes through them, and you see what pattern appears.
He's already done this work, so the repack on this might be an extra step. F1 plus F2, F1 maybe, or maybe the time differential comes up to a revamp for time on this with a different combination of these slits. Well, the reality is this is a target. The slits are what that is. The polarization of that distance to this, now let's change out that distance. This starts to increase up. But given whatever orientated limit inside here, maybe there's a way to design it this way so the amplitude and frequency still come off right-hand rule, but up, 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 down. Maybe change would correlate to just the machine orientated a certain way, or a distance change, or something into that value. And those kind of wave particles have an index on them. There's not really a specific distance or a way to zero out the muon of the temperature to get rid of superposition down to the neutrino, or the neutron, crushing down to a point where they collapse into a singularity. Once I observe that particle, I'm bouncing around the stone mill, that's where it should go. This slit kind of crosses out. I know it goes inside here, that's what that is, but we're talking about something that passes through a lot of Penn's rows. Even the fact of knowing, let's say I call it the stone mill, closes this off so it's no longer quantum mechanics, it became field theory. That field, using this weight or that particle, this could be the entirety of the periodic table right there, or anything quantifiable in solid-state chemistry. It could be a gas, but it still amplitudes to the organic chemistry. I don't have prove. It's already been proven. It's an organization of field theories, NP completeness. So I give you enough general programs to give you a value. Those are those sets that have values in a math class. But single variable calculus is multivariable calculus. Single variable is, I'm just saying, at this base right here, the Hadron Collider would be the multivariable calculus on this for feeds and speeds, and then we dropped that. We said that collapsed the wave function inside here to say it's make it observable. So let's look at law. Let's look at the Patent Office or the Supreme Court. Why is there a difference between the Supreme Court while dealing with evidence? That's what pisses me off about a lot of the mathematicians in the game, because I don't know whether they don't want to say it, or there's a problem with quantification in it. I don't get the ability to. Salty over there on Paris Island is a Hadron Collider. But we're looking at it from the overall, all the spins have their own collisions that FMA across the board, a secondary slit, and M2 to the matrix. What do you mean? It's like, why does Murphy make all the laws? Because he's a general.
But it certainly
Generals have to
started
do
a
the work
cottage
based
industry
on
of
laws to
quantum
describe
movement
what
such
it is they're
functions
doing,
with
collapse the
diaphysics,
wave function to
dancing
deal with
movie
the
masters,
geodesics
and a
of
lot
the
of things
FMA
said
and
by
actions at
modern-day
spooky
television
distances.
personality Deepak
That kind of
Chopra.
violates the
None
law
of
of
these
freedom,
reflect
not
current
necessarily the
physics
law of the
thinking.
universe. The law of the
Pull
universe
aside,
gave me a
the
matrix.
mind-bending
I
behavior of photons gets
quantify,
weirder
in the
still.
case,
Let me walk you
what I
through
was
this
actually
perennial
doing, and then the
catastrophe.
muons and the blankety
It
winkety
turns out to be
purr
possible to turn down
inside
the intensity
here
of a
would
light
have
source
to be
so low
congruent
that
with
only
whether
one
that
photon
element
is
really
emitted.
was what it was in an
What
inverted
happens when you
square.
shoot a series of
I'm
those
not
photons
saying
in
the
a
event
double-slit
happened. I'm
experiment,
trying to
and
say
don't
the
look to
event
see
would
what
have
slit
followed
electrons will act
magnetism
like a particle
housing
or
no
wave.
matter this weird
Now, I need to be
orientation
honest
of
to
it
say,
to
although
travel
this
downrange.
experiment has been
And that's
done
why
with
quantum
photons,
physicists
it was first done using
generally have good
electrons.
what? Dimensional
Electrons, like
analysis. They
photons,
have
both a
good,
wave and a particle nature.
as a common right-hand rule
This
to that
means
value,
qualitatively,
right?
the electron
Alright, well,
experiments
anyway,
can stand in
inside
for
of there,
photons. And
derivative
in
L,
1986,
devil anyway.
Philippe Grosjean,
But that makes
Gerard
him G.
Rouget, and Alain
On the top
Aspect
end, it would be like,
did an
what,
equivalent
somebody
experiment
coming
with
down?
photons. I put a URL
And I
of their
bet you it
actual
wouldn't
paper
feel
if you want
like,
some light nighttime reading, and by light I mean heavy. And I also added a link to a URL of a paper that details how to do the experiment with university undergraduate
Now
laboratory
that's the
equipment.
thing. I trigger you
You
off.
know,
I
just in
make
case
you
someone out there
directly
wants
make
to
it
check
me, and I'll
out
take
what
on
I'm
an
saying.
army of students,
So what
countries,
happens?
or anything
Well,
else,
when the
because
photon is aimed
let's
at two
date.
slits, and if light were acting like a wave, you'd expect a very faint interference pattern to appear.
got all this
Then,
equipment
with
out
each
there,
photon,
Hubble
the
45
interference
by
pattern will
names and
get
terms
brighter
of
and
science
brighter.
and systems out there.
But
Let's
that's not what
recreate
we
the
see.
experiment,
Instead,
but do
we
it in
see
an
that the
M2
photon
value
is
of a different
detected
system.
as
What
a
do you mean? It's
single
like, well,
spot on the
I'm
screen.
going to do a scientific
That's
process
definitely the
on
behavior you expect from a particle.
improving the
Well, that's pretty
monetary
weird.
system of a
We now
company,
have
a hillbilly
two
spinner bill.
instances where light acts like a
Maybe I
particle
only had
in a
one
double-slit experiment.
T
If what
Model
I said
T out
seemed
here,
weird, what I'm about
but
to say pegs the bizarre
inside of there, I could
What
say,
happens when we
let's
send
use
another
Abba
photon?
instead
Well,
of
just like the first
Amazon
one, it appears
as
in a single
my
spot.
cost
What
ratio.
happens when
Oh,
the
the
third,
probability
fourth,
changed of it
hundredth,
highly
millionth,
coming off
and
over in here because I
billionth
observed something
You see that
happening.
they start building up a pattern
A
that you
small
should
effect.
recognize. What you see is that
Time
the
matters.
traditional interference
Space
pattern seen by
matters.
Thomas Young way
In general,
back in the
command
early
loading,
1800s.
right?
this
It's
is
smash it all
extraordinarily
in there,
weird.
or
It seems that
command loading,
individual
or well,
photons
command
travel
loading is
through
just
both
the
slits,
kitchen
but
sink
they are
in the
detected like a
C-17.
particle,
Let's
and
go,
also
Princess
seem to be
Peach.
governed by
And general
mechanics
command
waves.
loading as well.
Light
That's the
truly
Daisy
has
Cutter
wave and
inside
particle
here,
properties.
and Ultra Nightmare,
Now,
Doomslayer,
the first
Lucy,
thing I want to say
100% where
is
you're
that what I've
buried.
told you here are experimental facts. There is no question that these things happen. These can't be denied. The real question is, what story is the
Well,
data telling us?
that's not just the Hadron
That's
Collider.
where
What he's
things get more
explaining right here
complicated.
is a program.
There is
What
the
is quantum
shut up and
mechanics double
calculate
slit
school of
experiment?
thought, which says that you shouldn't ask what's going on. The theory predicts the result, and that's good enough.
Well,
Then
asking
there
what's
is
going
pilot
on.
wave
It's like
theory,
hearing a
which has
quantum
particle
mechanics guy that
photons
works at
serving waves
CERN
of
talking
probability
on
which guide the
space-time
photons
saying
to
we
their
can't
arrival
figure out
point
the
on the
difference,
screen.
or the
The
similarities, or
medieval
the
interpretation
connection
essentially says that
between
all
general
possible
relativity and
outcomes are
quantum
predicted,
mechanics.
and the
It's
photon
like, well,
simply
general
follows
relativity
one of
is,
the
let's say the
paths,
train, right? The
meaning
lightning
that
bolt
there
on
is
the
no
train for
tension
special
between the
relativity.
wave
Let's just
and
arbitrarily
particle
use that as
nature
the
of
start.
light.
Let's
There are many
change a
interpretations
few
of quantum
amplitudes
mechanical
and
data.
frequencies.
You
Let's
can look at
change the speed of the
Wikipedia to
train
see
and
the
see
smorgasbord of
why
ideas available to you.
causally light
And there's
has
no
a
lack of
limit,
ideas
right?
that can
But the
reasonably
observable
call fringe. I
photon
put a
here
URL to
on
the Wikipedia
lambda
page that lays out the more plausible
I1,
options.
I2,
I haven't
J1,
told you
J2,
which of the
I
options
negative
is right
1, I
because the
negative
jury
2,
is still out.
J negative
Few
1,
of the
J
options are
negative
ruled
2.
out by the data, so we're kind of stuck in the position of saying,
I can
don't know.
Bernoulli's that
By the
train
way, fun fact,
to
I
say
went into
that's
physics
what's in the
hoping to solve
pipes
this
there,
quantum
Doomslayer.
conundrum.
You getting shot
But
out
as I
the
got into
Hadron
it, I
Collider
saw just how
and
hard it
or a
was.
railgun
It's a
and
century
or
of smart people
Mario's
thinking about it
program
to
on
solve the problem.
hitbox. It's like I
I
still want to
probably
do the
wasn't
general
gonna either.
program on there,
So I
but
went to
every once in a
particle
while there
physics,
might be
which
some
was equally
ghosts inside
interesting in
there.
a field where
But
I
the
could
human
make a
or the
difference in,
computer
well, the
assist
rest is
speed run
history.
may never
Even though the
achieve
double-slit
those
experiment is
systems based on the
mind-blowing, there's more
pixel
to the
limit
story. In my next
for
episode,
what Omega
I'll tell
would
you
do
about
in there.
how
It's
we
like,
can
how come the
pick
computer never
which slit
has
the
a
photon went
weird
through, then erase that
hitbox game
information.
inside of there?
What happens in that
Probably.
case? Well, you'll have to watch the next video to find out. Well, that was certainly fun. Thinking about quantum mechanics is always a good way to make your head spin. If you
We're
like the
both
video,
winners,
please
buddy.
like,
I'm just a
subscribe,
big
and share
winner.
on social media.
Oh,
We
well,
need more viewers.
kind of not really.
And what kind of
If I
viewers do
come
we want?
through,
Well,
I'd be a
that's easy.
wrecking ball.
We want viewers who know
Hey,
the
you could be
great
standing
truth,
here and
which
it's
is
like,
that
oh, all the
physics
problems in the world
is
and things like that, and I'll be like, oh, that stick in my backyard's just fine. Why don't you go fetch it for me so I can beat the shit out of you with it?